I mean, I could have.
Huh?
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
My OCD kicks in.
We're on the air. You're on the air, Mr. Mayor.
I'm just worried because we switched the arrangement. I'm not sure everybody told all the council members. I think they would be here at 6 no matter what department.
But I think Jonathan is gonna be a little late, he said.
Michael's on the phone. Yeah, he's dialed in.
We don't have a quorum. You count the mayor in the quorum? Yeah.
We have 4.
Yes.
We're
Yep.
fine.
Don't forget Michael.
Yep.
Don't forget Michael.
Sorry.
We're here.
I'm sorry, I forgot you.
Hear you loud and clear.
This is a pretty good
You're on
system.
speaker.
I didn't get that. The telephonic gavel, I like that.
There you go. Does the mayor know that Mr. Kerr is going to be
I don't know if he was on the email or not.
Let me tell him that Kern may be late, so not to wait for him to come.
Right, but Roger,
Roger, I don't know that.
I don't know.
See if you can print it. Do it manually. Yeah.
She says Mr. Kern may be late, so.
Yes.
Okay, good.
I'm aware.
Start or no?
Excuse me?
No, do we have a quorum?
We do.
Okay, good. Don't wanna wait.
Are you ready?
I am. I've been here.
Okay,
Let's do it.
great. Everybody, Mr. Gullo is ready, so we're gonna start.
I'm great.
Let's go.
Good evening. I'm gonna call Sam. We're good, right? Great, thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'm going to call the mayor and council meeting for Tuesday, March 25th, 2025 to order. Notice this meeting was published in the official newspapers and prominently posted in Borough Hall and filed with the municipal clerk in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
indivisible, with
visible, liberty, and justice for all.
Is there an echo? Okay. Melissa, can we have a roll call, please?
Sure, Mr. Carnival,
Here?
Mr. Staff,
Here.
Mr. Tajian,
Here?
Mr. Kern, late, Mr. Gullo,
Here.
Mr. Kelly.
Here.
Okay, thank you. This next item on our agenda is a presentation by David Zabo Deary on his Eagle Scout project proposal. David, you want to come up to the podium and share with us what you'd like to do?
So everyone, good evening. I'm David Sabuderi, and I'm a Boy Scout currently at Troop 36. So for my project, I'm seeking council approval as I plan to host a collection of pet items, including pet hygiene products, pet food, as well as pet toys for a local animal fostering agency called Claws, which is based in Closter and has foster homes all throughout Bergen County, including Oradell as well. As I mentioned earlier, I plan to host a collection throughout the town where I will hand out flyers to all houses, and then afterwards, I'll collect donations from the houses the following weekend. So I'm seeking the council's approval to do that on the date of April 26th and the following week of May 1st.
Anybody have any questions?
So Claus is in Closter, correct?
Yes.
And it's for just dogs, cats.
It's for all pets, so dogs, cats, yes.
So you're just collecting supplies, obviously, and you know the troops do a great job of obviously canvassing the town. So that's basically what it is. One weekend you drop off in terms of a bag or whatever, the flyer, and then the next weekend you pick up.
Yes.
Okay, great.
David, what hours would that generally be between?
Hours generally is between, I'd say, for the flower distribution, 9 to at the latest 2, and for the collection, around 9 to 12.
And would you be doing it on both Saturday and Sunday, or one day only?
Only Saturday.
Only Saturday. Okay, great. Thank you.
Sounds great, David. How will you advertise? How will you get the word out?
I plan to get the word out through a post on Royal Residence, as well as via the Scouts' own website and Facebook page. So,
Good.
You should probably get it up on our borough website, and then I don't know if we're allowed to use the town sign, but if we are, I definitely advertise it.
I don't see why we
It's
can't
a great cause.
grant approval to make public announcements that are relevant to the betterment of the town. I think we should be happy to do that. So if nobody has any objection, entertain just a nod from the council to allow David to go ahead and plan his project, and we'll wish you the best of luck on that, David.
thank you. I need a signature as well. It says your council or district approval. I don't know who is in charge of signing that. But
Clerk.
whatever.
Clerk or the mayor.
I could sign it for you right now quickly if you would like, and then
Sure.
then you can get out of here.
Good luck.
Good luck, David.
That's awesome.
And also chat with OPTV right here in the back. They can probably post it on their TV station.
Right here, right? Beneficiary approval?
Oh no, it's the one.
I think this is the scout sign here.
Council or district. Oh,
No, this is the Boy Scouts Council or
Right.
District. I think we're supposed to sign in beneficiary.
Oh no, that's for the organization I'm working with, so that's different. I think.
Ah,
you could just sign down here, just as
yeah.
I guess.
Off you go. Thanks, David. Good luck with everything.
Good luck, David.
Okay. So I think we're going to pull a little audible here. I was told by the administrator we're going to save the budget presentations till the end of the meeting. We're going to move on with regular business first. So that being said, do we have anything under discussion items?
Just with regard to the agenda, I see we're going to be introducing an ordinance tonight. Do we have the paperwork? Thank you, Mary.
Any old business? Just one note, Tom, on the STEM presentation that the fifth grade class made at our last meeting. They've prepared some flyers that I've asked the clerk to post one of them in Borough Hall. I'd like to get one to the Environmental Committee. They're also going to get their posting up on the town signboard. And I think, we may have a few loose ends to help them tie up their effort before April 26th, which is Earth Day, and I'm pretty sure they're going to coordinate directly with you guys, right, on that?
Yeah, the one catch is that our next meeting, and I think our chairperson may attend tonight's meeting, is scheduled for the first Thursday, which I believe is April 3rd. And that is this event at Riverdale, which is the Wizards. So we may, I thought it'd be great if some of the fifth graders could attend our next meeting. We'll have to work through that and get together with them. And yes, so I'll be hosting the outside portion of that cleanup, and look forward to working with our residents as well as our fifth graders on that morning.
Yeah, so this is what they drafted. They did a pretty nice job.
Awesome.
Maybe we can sort of edit this a little to throw our environmental committee and the borough logo on there to show that it's a joint effort.
Yeah,
I can
that's
talk
great.
to the kids and they can speak with Mrs. Castaldo about perhaps helping to update this. I thought that was pretty creative on their part.
Yeah, that's definitely above my pay grade, but
Yours and mine both.
the fifth graders may be better adept at amending that document. That'd be great. I look forward
Okay.
to that, and yes, more to
Great.
come on that. It'll be a great day.
Any other items of old business? If not, we'll move on to new business. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to open to public comment on non-agenda items only.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Floor is now open.
Good afternoon, Paul Atsumis. Ed, thank you so much for fixing that pothole in the pedestrian crossing on Argyle and Kindekamack Road. You did it really fast, right away. Almost like the next 2 days, it was done. Also, what was the other thing? The clock. I noticed that the clock is also fixed on Kindekamack Road, and I thank you for that. I see that you're on the ball there, getting everything done real quick. That's good. On the trees, I haven't seen anything changed about the trees over by DPAC yet, and I haven't seen the water fountain done yet. I don't know if it was ordered or not. If anybody knows that the water fountain was actually ordered, and we could now put it in because now it's spring, so we over at the DPAC thing, and also that the cameras and security would be working, and make sure that that's working. The ordinance, on the ordinance, I guess we're going to talk about it later, but I'd like more of an explanation when you do talk about it, and tell me about why you made the changes and what are the benefits of the changes, if you could explain that to everybody. And the other thing is, I've noticed when I went online and I saw the agenda of the salaries, tremendous amount of salaries. I'm not used to this because I guess I'm kind of older, and we didn't have those kind of salaries when I was working. And I don't know what we could do to try to save some money on the salaries. I hope we can do something there. The amount of money that's being offered to people, for example, I know that we had a recreation director that made 60 grand, then it went to 65, and then it went to 70, and now I see that it's going to go higher than that. I'll talk about it later at the agenda items. But I tried to find out what the average salary is for a recreation director, and I was very surprised when I went on the internet. And what I did find out is that the average in the state is $58,362. But that doesn't mean it's here in Bergen County. Bergen County is the highest salary ranges for anybody working in recreation. And it was, what I saw was 93,734 to 164,225. And so I hope this person that we're getting has a lot of experience, so then he's able to be worth that amount of money. And I hope that you did the research on it. That's all I really have to say. Just save the rest for later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I've prepared some remarks here so I don't end up rambling. Good evening, Mayor, Council, and members of the Oradell community. Thank you for giving me the time today to speak with you about an issue of great importance to me and my family. We lived on Schaefer Ave between Elizabeth and Pyle since July of 2020.
Can you just state your name for the record, please?
Excuse me, Carmen Gragnano.
Thank you.
My apologies. It's my first council meeting.
No worries.
We lived on Schaefer between Elizabeth and Pyle since July of 2020 and have observed excessive speeding on that street since we moved in. I've heard Schaefer referred to as a cut-through street, and while I agree that to be true, I frankly find it unacceptable because language has an impact on behavior. This past Thursday, I was taking our senior dog for his evening walk and witnessed a group drop someone off at the intersection of Schaefer and Pyle to videotape a The driver of the vehicle speed down the opposite side of Schaefer up the hill, K-turn, speed through the stop sign up our side of Schaefer, K-turn again, and repeat the process on the way back. I only assumed that it was to videotape, perhaps to post to a social media site or something, to impress their friends. I did not have my phone on me, otherwise I would have recorded the event and shared it with the Oradell PD. Excessive speeding and this reckless driving can unfortunately cause a tragedy within our community. And with that, I'm formally requesting to have speed humps installed on Schaefer Ave between Pyle and Elizabeth Street. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Seeing no one else in the general public, I'll entertain a motion to close non-agenda.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries, and we'll have a motion to open for items on the consent agenda only.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All as soon as $105,000 for our new recreation director. That's 25. I gotta put my glasses on here.
Paul, can I say something?
25,105.
This is your time, so I have to ask you if I'm allowed to use some of it.
Yeah, sure.
So you stated a range of recreation
Yeah.
salaries for Bergen County, 94 to 160 some odd? Let's just say that that's accurate. I don't need the exact numbers. The salary we're proposing at 105 is in the below 20% of the lowest average that we could pay somebody. We've looked for this person for almost 14 months. I have to say, it's expensive to live in Bergen County. And if we want skilled and qualified people, the gentleman you'll see that we're proposing has a master's degree in recreational studies. He has a certified Parks and Recreation professional. He brings the highest qualifications we've ever had in a recreation director for the borough. I think $105,000 is a bargain for what he's going to add to our residents and our youth's quality of life.
And the amount of experience he had is how many years?
He has worked in Leonia, he has worked in Englewood, he has worked in Orangetown, New York, which is part of a township that comprises 13 hamlets with a total of about 55,000 residents. So he's coming back to Bergen County. We're a much smaller organization than he's currently managing. And I have to say, having spoken to numerous professionals in the industry about their interest and their desire to potentially want to come here to become the new head of our recreation program, I think we have somebody who's going to do a great job for us. And I think we're compensating him fairly. And I think sometimes not getting the compensation right is short-sighting ourselves to invest in an employee to have a career here. And he's a younger gentleman in his career, and I'm hoping that he'll be with us for quite some time and we don't have to go through this exercise again.
Well, the thing is that I know that it's in the lower range because I said 93,734 to 164. So it's in the 105 is in the lower range. I see that. But the thing is, we're going from 65 or 70 to 105.
The position
which
was
we never did before. That's a big jump.
It was grossly underpaid before. Grossly undercompensated.
So you think that our directors before were grossly underpaid?
Absolutely, and nobody would come here for that salary. We interviewed dozens of candidates. Okay. Nobody would come here for that salary.
It's a shame because we lost some good ones, too. Okay, thank you so much. I concur with what you said, that he is in the lower part of the range. And I can understand that. The only thing is, I'm not used to those kind of salaries.
No, I understand. I think a lot of us are not used to the cost of living right now.
Exactly. I know that the more money we spend, the more money we have to raise our taxes and stuff like that. And that's really what I'm concerned about. And I guess everybody's concerned about that. We just had the meeting the Saturday, so talking about it. So, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you bringing it up and having the dialogue. Anybody else from the public on agenda items only?
Motion to close?
We have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Melissa, can we read the correspondence into the record, please?
Sure. Number 1 is a letter of appreciation from Diane Danielle regarding the senior bus driver William Kaufman. And number 2 is the Oradell Police Department monthly report for February 2025.
Thank you. So before we get to the consent agenda, did we print the resolution? So I had emailed the council earlier today about a settlement offer in our prospective number for our co-obligation, or our affordable housing obligation, excuse me. And before you, we've just received recently a resolution from our special counsel that the council would need to approve to ratify that settlement. I would just ask everybody to take a moment and look at this so that we can pass this tonight. And this would be Resolution 25-109.
Can you go on the record and say that this changes from what
Yeah,
the state
so
wanted?
the borough previously authorized our special counsel and our planner to submit correspondence that challenged the number of prospective units the borough was required to provide. The number was 186 that the Department of Community Affairs provided to us. Our research showed that some of the land being considered developable was used as parkland and needed to be amended to our recreational open space inventory. It was on that basis that we countered our obligation should be reduced by 12. The New Jersey Builders Association, who is a party that has challenged our submission to DCA for consideration, has offered that we settle at 180, which is basically in the middle of the 12 units, and move on from there. The council is considering right now approving this resolution to accept that number at 180, which is still subject to a vacant land adjustment and our affordable housing plan that needs to be filed with the state, which is where I'll call it the real number or the actual number that's attainable is going to come in when we file that plan. So I think it puts us in a better situation than we were. Process worked to a degree, and we move on to the next step. But this, absolves us of having to go through a hearing with a hearing officer and drag this process out. I think that we're comfortable that the reduction of 6 is adequate for now, and we'll address the rest in our vacant land adjustment in our housing plan. I'll let Mr. Bailey comment if he has any more to say.
Just briefly, Mayor, just to add, because the hearing is actually on for tomorrow.
Correct.
Hence the timeliness of this, and the window that the new regulations presented only gave 31 days, essentially, for all the towns in the state to have this addressed. But the important thing is that at this point it continues the borough's immunity from builder's remedy challenges.
Right. Thank you, Bill.
And Counselor, you've read this and you're comfortable with the language?
Yes, sir. For a different municipality, I was actually in these hearings this afternoon.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So, Mayor, if you, just for clarification, is tomorrow's the deadline for any other outside part of the file?
No, that has come and gone.
Yeah,
Right.
so we're not subject, this clears the deck in terms of any potential other objections that any outside party may file against the borough. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Now, we have to do the housing element plan, as do all the municipalities, by June 30th.
That's a different story.
A different story. That could, because that's going to involve our vacant land analysis and realistic growth
Yeah.
development potential, or RDP. So, but at this step, it cut off anyone that didn't submit a challenge by February 28th.
And New Jersey Builders, that's just an outside group, private group representing developers or builders or whoever.
Yeah, 159 municipalities in the state challenged the DCA's number. the New Jersey Builders Association challenged Law 159.
Okay,
Fair Share Housing Center did not challenge our number, which is good.
okay. Thank you.
Any further questions? We have an agreement to add this to the consent agenda as Resolution 25-109.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. That having been done, does any member of the council have any questions, comments, or concerns on any resolution that they would wish to pull for separate discussion or vote?
Mayor, just for my education, I guess, 25-104, if somebody can, as a resident, explain to me how the excess water sewer bills work, et cetera. I'm not sure where, I haven't seen that.
So we have a threshold in our ordinance that says if, based on your water usage, I believe we get the data right from Veolia that says who uses how much water.
Goes to the borough.
Correct.
Ah, okay.
If you use above a certain threshold that's listed within our ordinance, then there's a per unit rate that applies to how many cubic feet of water are used after that point. But there is a relief clause in there that allows residents to come before and make a case for exception based on extenuating circumstances such as a sprinkler leak or a swimming pool or large irrigation system or other matters that may qualify for exemption.
So every other resident, can I assume, is in compliance or is below the threshold, or they're not contesting it? Is that so? It's only a handful of
Correct.
folks that'll. Okay. And if I don't hear anything, no news is good news, I guess, in terms of that, right? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And also 25-107, just to be clear, that is kind of a good faith deposit in terms of the grant application. If we were not awarded the grant, then that would be returned to us, right? I'm going to assume.
No, I
Is that
believe that's for his services to prepare the grant application.
I think that is that 106? Yeah, so it's 106 and 107. I think one is the 106 looks like
107 is our commitment that if we get the grant, we'll match it up to 20,000.
Great, okay.
Yeah, so, and 106
Thank you,
is,
sir.
yes, we're going to
Yes.
pay the architect to start the work. 107, that outlay, if we're unfortunate not to get the grant, then that would return to us, I'm assuming, right? Just
Correct.
to confirm that, okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Any other questions? Now I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
109?
You have a question?
I wanted to comment on 109. I didn't have a chance to comment before.
Okay, I'm going to ask for a motion to reopen to the public for comment only on 25-109 since it was a late addition.
So moved.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
Well, Letsunis, the only reason I'm saying this is because I didn't see this until I came here.
it's fine.
I
Thank you
had
for
no
bringing
idea.
it up.
Yeah. What I really want to say is my feelings on fair share. I don't think this is really fair share, 180 units. It's unrealistic for us to do anything in that way, and I don't know what the real number is going to turn out to be, but we have to do something about all of the different things that it's going to require for extra services to all these people. And like I mentioned last time about the education, that we should have some kind of a fee placed upon these units that are going to be put in to help us with raising money for education for our schools, because we're going to have to do that if we get so many more people. And I'm concerned about the services and stuff like that. And I just wanted to say that for the record, that we got to see with our representatives if they can do anything on that respect, because they're doing it for fair share housing. We're collecting money for that every time a developer makes something, but why not do it for education? So every time that we have new units and we're going to have bigger schools, we're going to have more classrooms, more teachers, maybe there should be a fee there too. If we can do it for for the fair share housing, for the housing and collecting the money for that. And then I think we can collect money for this. Maybe the council could consider some kind of legislation to be sent to our representatives to try to see what we can do in that respect. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else care to comment on 25-109? If not, I'll entertain a motion to close.
So moved.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion
Aye.
carries. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
Melissa, can you do a roll call, please?
Sure, Mr. Carnival.
Yes.
Mr. Staff.
Yes.
Mr. Tajian.
Yes.
Mr. Kern is absent. Mr. Gallo.
Yes.
And Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
Okay. Next, committee reports. I'll be brief since we have budget presentations this evening. I just want to take a minute to thank our administrator, Ed Hines, and our tax assessor, Jim Anzavino, and Rick Del Gurcio from Associated Appraisal Group for having their tax seminar, I'll call it, or public meeting on Saturday. It was held here in the building from 10 to 12. Went a little past 12. I would say it was extremely well attended. This room was standing room only. I watched the meeting. I was here for the beginning, but had to go, but I watched it in its entirety. I thought there was some very well and thoughtful questions asked, and I thought it was a great dialogue between our staff and the residents on an issue that can be foggy at best at times, on how taxation and valuation and other things all play together to determine what it costs us to call Oradell home. So I want to thank them for doing that, and maybe that's something we can look to do on somewhat of a regular basis for folks that have inquiry about programs such as senior freeze and other types of things that are available to them. Next, I just want to mention that we're continuing to work on improving pedestrian lighting on Kinderkamak Road. Our public safety folks are having a meeting with PSC&G Lighting tomorrow about replacing the luminaires to all of the pedestrian lighting poles in the downtown district, in addition to lighting the crosswalks with additional flood lighting that may be able to be installed. So I'm very interested in the outcome of that meeting tomorrow. Hopefully PSC&G will continue to be a wonderful partner to work with. Just a heads up, as people plan for spring and summer, we did meet with PSC&G about the next round of road repaving associated with their gas main installation project. We have asked of them, and they are working to advise us on the dates for the next round of paving. We ask that those commence shortly after school is completed for the year. So hopefully we're set in their queue for sometime right after the 4th of July and get that work out of way. And there'll be a whole another slew of roads that get paved this summer as we did last fall. And lastly, they have some additional work that they're looking to impart in the vicinity of Beechwood Road and Merritt Drive, with some other smaller offshoots in that area that PSC&G is going to be working on, and they will follow practice with repairing roads when those projects are done as well. But that work should be occurring within the next 60 to 90 days until that's complete. That really sums up my report. Next, Council President Steve Carnival.
Thank you, Mayor. First up, we have ordinances. We're introducing an ordinance tonight, 25-1. We will have an opportunity for our attorney to explain the reason, but if you read the agenda that was handed out, this is just a technical fix, and it's really not changing any of the requirements of the ordinance, but I'll let our attorney kind of explain why we're doing it.
I'm sorry.
We'll go.
With
Thanks.
you.
Yeah. So, Mayor, ordinance number 25-1 is ready for first reading.
Will the Borough Clerk read ordinance 25-1 by title only?
An ordinance repealing ordinance 22-8 and amending chapter 270 of the Code of the Borough of Oradell entitled Trees.
Mr. Bailey?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Essentially, what this ordinance involves is there was really a typo. In 2022, an ordinance was adopted by the borough amending a prior ordinance. However, it didn't amend the proper prior ordinance. It was kind of two ordinances before that. So the section numbers were off, and when the clerk was working with the codification company, they picked it up. So essentially the changes are the one ordinance cited section 270-6, it should be 270-8. And the other section did not specifically identify this section that was being amended, which is 270-4. So it's not a substantive change, it just cleans it up because there was just inadvertently reference to the wrong prior ordinance from earlier in 2022.
And the practicality is when someone wants to reference the most current tree ordinance, they can go into this system and locate it, so it's a good thing.
Avoid confusion.
Right. So with that, Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that ordinance 25-1 be passed on first reading and published in the Monday, March 31st, 2025 edition of the Bergen Record.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Carnaval?
Yes.
Mr. Staff?
Yes.
Mr. Tajian?
Yes.
Mr. Kern is not here. Mr. Gallo?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
So just continuing on, Administration Committee, we have no updates to report this evening. For the Planning Board, the board met on March 4th where we approved one resolution for a subdivision and one soil moving application. The next meeting of the board is scheduled for Tuesday, April 2nd at 7:30 p.m. Zoning Board, the board met on March 17th where they approved one resolution and two applications. The United Way Special Needs Housing Project was again carried over, and the application will continue to be heard in April. And the next meeting of the board is Monday, April 21st at 7:30 p.m. The Historical Committee met last evening. There were continued discussions regarding the Borough History Book Project, and as well Oradell's participation in the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence in 2026. I also asked the committee to look into replacing the existing sign at Shirra Park, specifically ideas around the design and content of a new sign. And lastly, there are plans to hang more historical pictures here at Borough Hall. And that's my report, Mayor.
Thank you. Public Safety, Emergency Management, Board of Health, and Municipal Drug Alliance, Councilman Staff.
Thank you, Mayor. First and foremost, I wanted to thank the resident for coming forth with the traffic concerns and speeding concerns in town. Just as a quick reminder to all residents that in spite of the fact that if we don't have a quick camera or somebody to call us straight away, please be reminded that on streets in town we have residents that have cameras all around their house. So if a resident catches somebody speeding down the street, please share that video with the police department, and we'd be more than glad to investigate. Public Safety Committee will be meeting next week. The Oradell Chief of Police process is advancing. We are also addressing resident concerns about New Milford Avenue and Kinderkamak pedestrian safety. The Board of Health met earlier this month where we talked about Narcan box placements in the borough, and I will be meeting with Borough Administrator Hines to place those boxes. And that is my report, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Staff. Library, OPTV, Economic Development, Councilman Tastian.
Yep, so the library met 2 Wednesdays ago where we discussed budget, and that was the predominance of what we did, and we also talked about the Oradell Library becoming a safe harbor for books. That's all I have to report.
Thank you. For now, we'll skip over Councilman Kern with the hopes that he's going to join us late. Fire Department, Technology, Communications, Recreation, Special Events. Before I cut it loose to Councilman Gullo, I want to say thank you for your partnership in this process to find a new recreation director. I want to thank the administrator. I want to thank the administrative committee and the council for bringing what we've all felt was too long of a process to a close. I'm sure Ted may have something more to offer about our new candidate, but I think he's a great investment for the borough, and what he's going to contribute will reap volumes of benefit to our residents.
Thank you, Mayor. I concur. It has been a long process, but I do agree that we've found the right individual to lead the town into the next, I'd say, era of recreation, special events, and engagement. We all have experienced new and very wonderful people that have moved into our town that have not necessarily been part of Bergen County. So I think the bar has been raised in a very good way, which justifies the means of which we found this individual. Mr. Torres, without a doubt, is first class. He, without a doubt, proved himself in numerous hours of interviews with myself and the council that he is the right person for this job. So I'm extremely encouraged by his enthusiasm, his youthfulness, his engagement with the community, and more importantly, his experience. So it well justifies the salary of which we have proposed in the resolution. So excited about getting him on board. Just two other things. Opening day for Oradell Little League is Saturday, April 5th. They will do, as they did last year, a parade on and around OPS and Memorial Field. It starts at 9 a.m. There will be food trucks. We're very excited about that. It's a nice tradition, very similar to what OPS does for the Halloween parade. And I forgot my second thing, so I am going to end my report at that. I'm just too excited that we have a rec director. Thank you.
I understand your excitement. I appreciate it. Thank you. Finance, Environment, Beautification, Senior Advisory Committee, Councilman Kelly.
Thank you, Mayor. To echo your comments at the start, I'd like to also thank our borough appraiser and assessor. I also was out of town Sunday, but I did get the chance, and thanks to OPD TV and those folks for broadcasting that, and it's on the website now and on streaming, etc. But I do think it was an extremely valuable meeting and very educational for everyone, and that they gave out their personal cell phones and are still open to that is just wonderful for our residents. So that is obviously, in terms of finance and taxes, very much front and center, that issue, as well as the budgets, which we're going to talk about tonight and continue over the next couple of meetings. So that really, other than the housing element, that's really front and center. And again, it's just great educational effort, and it was a great turnout by the residents. And, the gentleman, a number of them mentioned the schools. Again, we're a pass-through here, that 25 cents of every dollar is what we control. The balance is the schools in the county. So those are other places where residents can go. Tomorrow evening, there's a school board and meeting just behind this building, and I hope to be there. And as I mentioned in the past, to open up those lines of communication to see how we can work together, the borough and the schools, and save some residents money and those types of things. So more to come on that. The other big thing, which I was not aware of, was the mayor mentioned the senior freeze and how that works. Again, so 65 years old, there is an income limit. It's 161 this year, I guess, but it goes to 167, and your taxes are frozen, which is pretty darn good for residents. You do have to pay in advance and then file a piece of paper and get the refund back, but that's in perpetuity. So that's something, to your mayor's point, to have those types of community seminars would be welcomed in the future. Environmental and beautification, we're going into very much the busy time of that committee as we turn into spring, and things like plantings and Earth Day, and they're all very much on the docket. The mayor mentioned, yes, Earth Day is April 26th. We should have a couple of good programs, active programs outside in town here, probably right at Memorial and the Pond, et cetera, with our 5th graders and potentially our 6th graders. And then at the library, we're working to have something there and more interactive inside in the afternoon. So more to come on that. Our plastic bag / bench program continues to work really well, and we have engaged our seniors who were part of that sorting process and that kind of work team and working to get the plastic out of the garbage, and just a great on the backside get those benches, and we look forward to in the near future to getting those benches. We have 3 or 4 of them ready to go into our parks and around town. We obviously have a number of them out there ready. So again, just a great town community effort. DPW, again, our team down there, the first and third Saturdays as well as during the week, all of those recycling efforts, thanks to the teamwork down there, are in full swing, and that continues this Thursday night, I believe, at the library. Again, we have the library folks here tonight, but we have a Bracco Farms to help our residents learn how to garden and as we go into spring. So it's a great program. I believe that is part of a Sustainable New Jersey grant, which I wasn't aware of, but that's 7 o'clock. So working with our team there. I did also, I've mentioned, and Councilman Tashin has the PSC&G home energy audit, which I did take advantage of that personally. You get a nice, clean report. It's very easy to schedule. They come over your house for an hour or so, or an hour and a half, and tell you how you can make your home more efficient. So it's a great exercise to do. It doesn't cost a nickel. I probably have, I don't know if I'll ever have to buy any more light bulbs for the rest of my life, whether it's light bulbs and power strips, all for free. So it's even if that alone, to take advantage of that. Light bulbs also are fairly expensive, and so there's a link on the borough's website on the front page to take advantage of that. And seniors, yes, we are really starting to gain some momentum. We have just named some chairpersons, which is great. We have a full committee now, and we look forward to having our recreation director in place to work together with them to really start to ramp up maybe some trips and things like that we have done in the past. I have taken it myself and some others to really clean out that senior center over there. It got kind of full of a lot of various things over the last probably 5, 10, 15 years. So that's going on right now, just to clean everything up and let people know where things are. I would like to maybe engage, talk to our tech person to have this. Many towns have this, and we do have many things offered for our seniors that it's sometimes for me and others hard to find out when they are and what they are, but many boroughs have this on their page. And like tomorrow we have, I believe, our tech person there that's open to all residents to help them with computers, followed by our history lesson. So that's just, again, each day I look forward to having this on our site. And I did talk to our tech person, and she said, why don't you talk to your website person? So I'd like to engage with our website people, or if anybody knows how to do this, it's probably fairly simple.
The new rec director is very skilled at this,
Yes,
and
okay,
social media.
Yeah, so that would be just a huge, I think, accomplishment where people can click on and each month to see what's going on in town, whether it's not with the borough or, again, our great partners, the library folks here are here tonight. So I look forward to that. April 9th, the Interact Club at Riverdale High School, free event for seniors. They call it the Senior Prom. They have a big orchestra, free food, free admission. So it's 4 o'clock at the high school. It's a great event. For some reason, there seems to be more River Edge folks, but hopefully we can get some more Oradell residents there. So please attend. It's all the Interact Club, and the high school puts on a great show for our seniors. We did have a number of seniors take advantage of the Playhouse over here, free admission on the dress rehearsal night for, I don't know, a week and a half ago for the show that's there now, which again is a great partnership and community. And we also had a great turnout for the St. Patrick's Day luncheon. We probably had 60, 70 people there from Schreiber. So thanks to Tina and the Borough Administration for putting on that event. We also had, speaking about pedestrian safety, we had our police department, and we had a presentation following the luncheon about safe streets. And obviously that is, as the resident has mentioned, and a number of our council people, really close to the top of, or at the top of what we need to be focusing on here. So that was a great day. And last but not least, we did have in correspondence just to recognize our van driver, who we all probably know. His name is Bill Kaufman, who worked at the post office for many, many years. He's now our van driver, and it's a beautiful note from one of our residents how kind he is. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, driving our residents to doctor's appointments and ShopRite, etc. But we're lucky to have him, and that was kind of the resident to recognize him. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Tom.
You're welcome.
Administrators report, Mr. Hines.
Yes, I have one report to make. Motivated by comments from the public, I am sharing the responsibility with Councilman Kelly. We're approaching banks. There's 6 banks in Oradell asking for donations to defray the cost of the 4th of July celebration. So we have approached 4 banks personally so far. We have 2 more to go, and we're following up with emails. And the 4th of July is probably the one holiday in the entire calendar that no one can argue about, I hope. So we would expect some contributions. For those who don't know, it's very expensive to undertake a 4th of July celebrations. Cost of fireworks approaching $25,000 alone, plus all the bands, etc., which the borough underwrites. So we believe we will be successful in acquiring donations from some of these banks. They've never been asked before, and so they're listening. That's my report.
Thank you. Mr. Bailey, Borough Attorney's report.
Nothing to report at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Atkinson, I'm going to give you your own report tonight since you so diligently slid into the room.
Yeah, so I apologize. I didn't realize the meeting started early.
It's quite all right.
Sure. So just to update you guys on a couple matters, we had a meeting with PSE&G this past month to talk about the project that's currently underway that should be wrapping up as far as getting the dates for paving and stuff. We'll be looking to do that, getting them to pave that over the summertime, so just after 4th of July. We don't have dates yet, but we stress the urgency that be done during the summer months with them. In addition to that, they do have some upcoming projects more on the east side of town, meaning east of Kinderkamack Road, over in like the Beechwood area in that section of town. So there'll be work starting once all the permits and stuff are in place for that. We don't have the specific dates for that at the moment, but once we have that, we'll share that as well. The work over there, same program, upgrading gas mains, replacing the services to the house and the meters. So, additionally, we submitted the plans to the DOT for Midland Road. So that's currently under review by their office. Once we get comments back, then we can look to go out to bid for that project and look to get that constructed during the summer months as well.
Do those plans include any curbing or other kinds of concrete work that may be required?
Yeah, so we have some spot curb replacement along there. I don't believe there were any handicap ramps in that section of the project. I think down by Prospect, but we took care of those when we did the work on Prospect Avenue. So.
Okay, and then we still have the outstanding issue with the workmanship on the concrete at both Prospect and the repair work that was done in the Blauvelt section in advance of the paving.
And on Grant.
And on Grant as well, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So I saw something in the bills list for payment on the Prospect job, so I would appreciate if we hold on that payment.
Agreed.
Until we get that resolved. Okay.
That's all I have to report.
So.
And thank you for my own slot. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. So normally, most of you would be jealous moving on to adjournment, but that's not the case. We're going to go into budget hearings. Anybody want to take a 2-minute break, or you want to get right into it? Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute break, and then we'll start with the library first up on budget presentations.
all good, man. Did you try it out?
Yeah, it did.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, all good, man. Glad you can use it.
Ted, you guys can talk pasta for food later.
We're back on here. Okay, thank you, Sam.
Really good.
We'll call the meeting back to order. We're going to start with budget presentations. I'd like to welcome John Trapp, our library director, Jim Lesserson, Vice President of the board.
I just want to note that John Kern has arrived. Please note in a minute.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Kern, welcome.
Thank you. Okay, does everybody have the presentation that we set ahead of time?
I believe we do.
Okay, that's great. I'll go through this fairly quickly. Everybody should feel free to interrupt me with any questions you might have, but this is essentially the same format we used last year. It seemed to work well last year, and it also, I think in a very concise way, explains why we're asking for what we're asking for and the overall kind of strategy behind how the library is being operated now. So to get right to the point of it, I could joke that we have kept our request under 3% this year by saying that 2.99% is under 3%, but in reality what we're asking for is a 3% increase in the appropriation from last year's $803,000, which was flat with the previous year, to $827,000 this year. Our state aid, we are figuring, is going to stay relatively flat. Interest rates are down some, so what income we are likely to have from other sources, including fines, will probably be just a little bit more than it was the previous year. Basically, what we're estimating is that we will have, with that level of appropriation, total income of $850,000. That's versus the revenue of $824,000 that we were budgeted to have last year. But because there was more interest income and fine income than we expected, we actually ended up closer to $840,000. If you drop down to the total expenses for the year, we expect our total expenses to be $869,000. Two things are notable about that. The first is that that's an increase of 5.5% over last year's budgeted $824,000. Second, you'll see that we've budgeted a $19,000 deficit for this year. We had one-time savings last year, which put us in a position to be able to cover that $19,000 and limit the amount that we asked in terms of the appropriation increase to the 3% that I just said. So what we have is total revenue expected of $850, total expenses of $869, and a deficit of 19, which we will cover with money out of the library's reserves. Now, if you look at the detail on the expense side, what you'll notice most importantly is that we have a substantial increase this year in the personnel line from $527,000 that we budgeted last year to $583,000 this year, which is an increase of 10.6%. And that is actually the culmination of a multi-year plan to change the shape of the library staff. When we started out on this 4 or 5 years ago, the library had 6 full-time employees, 2 full-time librarians, and 4 full-time administrators. Through a combination of attrition and restructuring, we now have only 3 full-time employees. All 3 of those are professional librarians. And professional librarians need to be paid as professional librarians. We have 3 excellent professional librarians, and the amount that ended up costing us was something of an increase over what the library staffing line was in previous years. But we believe this positions the library now to provide the quality of services that the town deserves. And I'm very proud of John and the people on the personnel committee of the library board who have executed this long-range plan, and I can finally say this year that it's not something we talk about prospectively. It's something that's now in place. Moving on to the next line. Oh, the other thing in personnel is that the line also includes staff raises of 3.25%, which we've been told is in line with what the rest of the borough employees are getting. So that is another piece of the increase, but it's the disproportionate amount of the increase is because of the professionalization of the library staff. The healthcare line is actually down slightly from last year, and that was really a roll of the dice for us because we had no idea when we were hiring the new full-time people what kind of health care they would require. They're entitled to whatever their family situations require, and obviously it would be both illegal and immoral to take that into account in a hiring decision, so we don't do that. But what ended up happening was that the the amount of money that we basically saved because people were retiring or people were being restructured enabled us to end up with roughly the same amount of gross healthcare expense. It netted out because the people who we brought in are at a higher level of salary and therefore have to pay more toward their health care than the people they replaced. So that one is a line where we actually picked up a little bit. On accessions, we only increased the budget by $1,000 from $84,000 to $85,000. Those are all the materials that the library buys to keep the collections up to date. It includes a increasing amount of money of electronic offerings, but we've managed to balance things out between the electronic and the traditional, between the children's and the adult, to make that budget work for us. And again, that's going up probably by less than inflation this year, but it's one place where we tried to be as close to flat as we could possibly be. We've budgeted a decrease in utilities. To some degree, I guess that's a bet on warm weather during the winter and cool weather during the summer, but for some reason last year our utility bills weren't as high as they had been in the past, and we're hoping that that continues to be the case rather than just an anomaly. But when we multiplied everything out and looked at what we needed and looked at the need to keep the total down as much as we possibly could, we decided to roll the dice and actually decrease that number from the amount that was budgeted last year. Buckles is going to go up 8% next year from $48,000 to $52,000. That remains, what we always say it is. It saves the borough thousands and thousands of dollars each year because it's a shared service that actually works. And the libraries from around the county and even a couple from outside the county all pool their resources and their centralized circulation systems and the interlibrary borrowing, which enables us to actually have a much broader selection of materials for our patrons than they would be able to get from just Oradell alone. I love to tell the story of the fact that I was needed to find something, and it wasn't in the Oradell library, and it wasn't in any Buckles library, and it wasn't in any of the New Jersey state libraries. And because of the way our interrelated library systems work, they actually got the book I needed from the University of Idaho. And it was shipped to Oradell, where I was able to read the play. It was a play, not a book. And then it was shipped back to Boise. So these services have really a very, very, I would say, laudable and maybe not fully appreciated ability to both save money through volume efficiencies and also improve service, because if there's a book out there and it's anywhere in the United States, I know from personal experience they'll find it. Equipment and maintenance, that's something that's always very hard to predict, because if something breaks down, it costs a lot of money. If something doesn't break down, then you save money. Again, that was another place where we nickeled and dimed ourselves and only budgeted $20,000 versus $25,000 last year. Supplies and administration, we kept flat at 11,000, and that all adds up to $869,000, which I know is true because I added it up 16 times to make sure that we wouldn't say something that was embarrassing.
Jim, I got a question. I don't want to stop you, but it's about the revenue portion. This 2025 revenue borough appropriation, is that the updated mill amount?
No, it's more. The updated, the third of a mill minimum, which we've explained in the past, has really nothing to do with what it costs to run a library of a town our size, is going to be $814,918.
Okay.
So that's roughly $12,000 more than the third of a mill. But last year, the rising property values have caused the third of a mill to rise. Last year, the same comparison was the third of a mill was only $721,727. So that last year's budget was, let's see, what did I did these numbers and wrote them down somewhere. 11% above the third of a mill was what we asked for and received last year, despite the fact that that was flat with the previous year when the third of a mill was only $676,000. This year, what we're asking for is only 1.5% above the third of a mill.
All right.
And we've done some work. We expect that next year's third of a mill will go up at least another 6.5%.
Thank you.
So that's something that, everybody can keep in mind in terms of the planning for next year.
And a quick question, actually, John, this is Mike Staff on the line. If you could just share, I know that a few years back we made some interest with money in the bank account. How much interest did the library make last year on interest?
I don't have that information. Oh, you have it.
Of course I have it.
Okay. Very good.
Interest income last year was $14,721 versus a budget of $3,000.
And I believe you guys also have an audited, did your audit happen for the library too?
Did our what?
Financial audit.
Yes.
We have an audit every year.
Yes.
Okay. And does the borough have that on file? Have a copy?
Yes, I sent to Borough Administrator Edward Hines the audit, and I believe to Chief Financial Officer Katie, the electronic version of the audit, which was
perfect. Thank you.
It was the draft audit, but that draft was approved by the library board, and then when they printed it and distributed it, we have those copies at the library, or some of the trustees have those copies. But there were
Great.
no
Thank
changes.
you so much.
There were no changes between the printed and the draft that I sent to the borough.
If there's a final adopted version, that's the one that needs to be on file here, not the draft. So you just need to send a copy
Right,
of your...
we didn't receive an electronic version of the final. They usually don't do that. They just send the
hard copy's
print
fine. We
right,
can
that's how
scan
they
it.
do it. Yeah. No, because they only give us 9 copies, one for each member of the library board.
I think you should ask them for 10 next year so you can provide one to the borough.
Okay.
Or make a copy of one that comes in.
Right. We could do that to keep on file.
Okay.
So just, Jim, if I may, just as a follow-up, and again, thanks for all that you've done over the years. And as you mentioned, I think our CFO did share with the council more detailed balance sheet numbers and expenses and revenues, et cetera, so which is very helpful. As a follow-up to the interest earned, that's a good number of $14,000. The borough administrator mentioned that we are in discussions with some of the local banks. It looks like that you bank with Valley, and it looks like your operating cash is approximately $300,000, and if that would be at 4%, That's your 12, 13, 14,000. Is that correct? Is that where that's coming from? Is that your money sitting across the street earning that, or because from that? The
Yes,
cash
I mean, that money built up over the last year.
Yeah, but in
we had
terms
we had the shutdown, and we also had some open positions as we were in the process of
in
hiring
terms of the
full-time
cash,
people.
but the interest earned. So, if you earn 14,000, right, 300,000 at 4% or 3%, that would bring you to that number. So you're doing a good job of. It sounds like of managing your money, but just to dovetail that with the boroughs. Cash management and negotiations and interviewing banks that you guys run separate, but that's information that would be helpful to the borough administrator, et cetera. So, I mean, that looks like you're doing a great job in terms of that, your operating cash, that it's working for you. The other point, if I may, in terms of the buckles, in the more detailed report, it just seems interesting, if you can educate me, the buckles, if it's 52,000 or something, but the drivers are 8,000, but the computers 40 some odd thousand, and it looks like that breakdown. That seems that's just interesting. That I would think that computers that seems like high expense. Is that the way I'm reading it correctly?
I wouldn't call it the computers. That's all the centralized circulation system. It's all the centralized member system.
Just the fees, yeah. I mean, it has.
Those are the services that they provide. The reason the drivers are a separate number is it used to be an outside contractor,
right.
And the formula for reimbursing them was different. John's actually an expert on this.
Yeah, so it's just an overall cost, I guess, for organizing and finding, and putting the books into the car and driving it around.
In 2019, because the state system, which was funded by the New Jersey State Library, that was a free service. We could still take advantage of it, for example, in terms of getting materials from outside of the Buckle system. I mean, we do take advantage of it, but we, as Buckles, decided that because that system crashed, it said that Buckles broke it because we were doing 64% of the entire delivery of the state, just in our little region of the state. So we decided that we would look into having our own in-house delivery system, where we hired a delivery administrator and drivers. And Buckles buys its own delivery vehicles, which are electric, through a state grant, state incentive grant for electric vehicles.
When you say we, John, are you referring to Buckles?
Buckles, yes.
Not the
Right.
library.
Because we are a member of Buckles, so we say we when we refer to it.
I'm assuming the answer will be no, but is there any way for Oradell or us to know what books everybody else is purchasing? Could there be,
Yes.
Every library has X copy of X book, or that would be pretty hard to manage.
If you search the Buckles catalog, you could see what, say you're interested in a particular item, not just a book, but whatever it might be, you could do a search and then you'll see who has it.
I'm just talking about cost efficiency. Does every library need to purchase X book? If
No.
River Edge has would we have any way of knowing if River Edge and Paramus and New Milford, before we purchase it?
Sure.
I don't. Does that analysis happen?
We do look at what other libraries have,
You
but
do.
we also recognize that there are certain things that
Demand.
everybody wants.
Sure.
Throughout the system.
So you are able to see
Yes.
what's out there ready, and if there's a supply.
Plus, we have professionals on staff who know and have come to know the taste or the needs of the residents of Oradell. We know the community very well. I've been in the position for 15 years now, so I have a good sense of what people want, and my staff has come to know very well what the people of Oradell want. So we do our collection development built around that knowledge.
Good. Thank you.
I just had a quick question for Katie. Just a clarification question. The repairs that were done to the library covered under the buildings and grounds 2024 budget. Would it be the operating budget, the capital budget, or a combination of the two?
It's a combination of the two.
Okay.
Yeah, so the general, where, like, supplies, that stuff goes under operating budget, but for the flooding, the roof repair, that goes under.
Okay, and we haven't seen the capital budget 24 expenditures yet, so.
I'm going to take your question a little further. I think one of the things you're asking is fire alarm testing, HVAC maintenance, other things that require routine maintenance, such as the infrastructure. Is that something the library has here? Is that in the DPW's buildings and grounds budget? Where do those things reside?
That's in the building, that's in the DPW's buildings and grounds budget. There's a sub-account called the library maintenance.
Okay, I was most concerned about the repairs that were done, where they fell under operating or capital, but thank you.
Yeah, but like for the roof repair that we
Right.
had.
Okay.
That was a capital,
Thank you.
that was a capital expense.
Jim, just a quick question. The equipment and maintenance in your line then, is that more copy machines, computers, and other equipment used to administer the day-to-day activities of the library?
Yeah.
It's operational, not infrastructure.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, the air
It also-
conditioning, and all that stuff is part of the DPW.
And it also includes the cleaning company that cleans the library.
I just had a question. Jim, you mentioned some rough numbers on head count before and how the library strategically changed their plan on how they want to staff the library. Are those numbers you gave just representative to that point, or they reference the actual amount of head count that you need to run the library?
Well, they're all the part-time people on top of the full-time people. But the full-time people, yes, the count used to be 6. Now it's 3. All the full-time employees are now professional. We have the library director sitting next to me, an adult services person, and a youth services librarian.
Right. So the 6 included the 2 librarians. It wasn't 6
At that
plus 2.
time, it was just the library director and the youth services librarian.
Right.
We did not have a full-time.
You've gone
adult
from
services
6 to 3. And roughly how many part-time or other classifications of staff do you guys have to run the library?
About 17, I think, is the number. But that number shifts because we hire some desk assistants, give up hours or leave the library, and then we hire new desk assistants. Most of the part-time staff are desk assistants. We have a part-time programming assistant, a part-time technical services librarian, professional, but in a technical services position.
Okay.
We have also a technical services assistant for the junior room, too.
Okay. What's the rough amount of hours you would say an average part-time employee works per week?
About 20.
20?
But it shifts radically. I mean, there's some who have much fewer. For example, we have some people who only provide weekend coverage.
Okay.
So that their hours would be much reduced.
Okay, thank you. So the Buckles fee, that's just a straight membership fee determined by Buckles, right? They tell you, here's what your share is. There's nothing to really discuss about that. Is that accurate?
Right. That's part of the Buckles budget. They have 3 buckets from which they draw, which includes population. It includes the third of a mill funding, and it also includes circulation, how much activity is happening at that particular library. And so we're given a rate card, and then we're given the figure that membership would require. We also get other services from Buckles, for example, managed Wi-Fi, which is a cost, and that's about it, because we're just part of delivery, too.
And one thing I think is important to mention is that John is very active in Buckles, and when they are discussing the formulas by which things are distributed, He's very aware of what helps Oradell and what hurts Oradell, and he comes back and we hear about it, and he also lobbies for the town in terms of our ability to make sure that we're treated fairly.
Okay, well, that's good to know. My question is more about really the structure of how it works. You don't have a say in what the fee is with Buckles. It's determined by the organization. They have a formula, or you're describing different ways the fee can be computated to be assessed. I would assume that rationale applies across all member libraries throughout the county, correct?
That is correct, but I do get a vote on the budget. I could vote against the Buckles budget if I feel that it's unfair or that it might affect us too much. But I have to say that since we started a new Buckles formula maybe 9 years ago, Oradell still comes out very much centrally. Our budget line doesn't go up as radically as it might in certain other libraries. So we're pretty fortunate that we keep it close to a middle figure, we could call it.
Is Buckles a county agency, or is that a not-for-profit?
No, it's its own entity. It does rely mostly on public funding because it's public money that we pay to Buckles, but it is its own entity. It's a consortium, a library consortium of 78 libraries. So it's not a function of the county, although originally it was conceived of as a county system, but it's not really. Because it's
Thank you.
Funded by the member libraries.
Thank you.
And there are 3 other counties, some of whose libraries are members. We have Passaic, one in Passaic, a number in Essex, and a number in Hudson County.
Okay. I'll just move very quickly through the pie chart page because that basically just in a pictorial form repeats what's in the detailed numbers we just discussed. From the revenue point of view, as I always say, our borough appropriation is our be-all and end-all, 97% of our income, and that makes us totally dependent on the appropriation to function. On the expense side, people are 3/4 of the budget. 74% this year between the personnel budget of 67% and the health care of 7%. Everything else only accounts for 26% of the budget. If you move on to the following graph, this is our best way of trying to put everything we've been talking about into some kind of historical perspective so you can tell where we are at this point and how we've gotten there. The top line, which I guess is in red for those of you who have color, is the line of essentially where we were in 2018 when we started talking about this restructuring and where the library cost was. That required a $712,000 appropriation at that time, and our appropriation was $706,000, so we were pretty much in line. 2019, exactly in line. We requested $726,000 and received $726,000. The following year, however, things began to diverge. Our budget appropriation was kept flat. Our costs continued to rise. In this case, it looks like it was about 2%, and therefore a gap started to form. The following year was the pandemic year, when our budget was cut back due to the fact that we had a lot of closing time in 2020, and therefore our budget was cut for 2021, and we were expected to use up money that had been allocated the previous year. We got most of the way back to what it cost to run the library in 2022, where the budget was $778,000 appropriated versus the $793,000 that we really felt we needed at that point. This is the point at which we really started kicking in on the restructuring, and you can see that we got an increase from 778 to 803 for 2023. We were able to make that work because we were beginning to do things that if we hadn't done, the cost to run the library would have been up to around $824,000. We were kept flat in 2024. The costs of running the library continue to go up to it would have been $854,000, but the savings were kicking in. And at this point, if we hadn't done the restructuring, we estimate that the budget would have been about $879,000 for this year. But because of what we've done, we're only asking for $827,000 this year. That's a difference of $52,000, and you can break it down into the requested increase, which is $24,000, and then $19,000 that we're taking from our reserves, and the remaining, 76 minus 43 is about $33,000 that are net savings that we've managed to accrue along the way in terms of our annual operating costs, because we've reallocated the resources and we don't have quite as much, we don't have full-time administrative staff anymore. And that causes some operational challenges, to be honest about it, but that's the sacrifice that we've made in order to make sure that we have the professional talent at the library in order to make the library, again, satisfy the needs and the expectations of the community.
Jim, just to clarify one thing for my edification, the line chart we're looking at is entitled Appropriation History.
Yeah.
I think you referred to where the budget needs to be. This is what the town's appropriation has been, not reflective of the library's operating budget.
It fudges on the be-all and end-all aspect. Right. We have the other income layered on top of this, but it's consistently what we would have had to ask for an appropriation if we were operating the library the same way we were operating it 5 years ago versus what we are asking for now. Again, you have to adjust that for the fact that we're running a $19,000 deficit, and that's not really shown anywhere here. But if you take the 803 to the 879, it's the $24,000 required increase, $19,000 that we're taking from reserves, and the remaining, what did I say, $36,000 or something, is what we have saved over the course of the 5 years in the annual expense. And I know that doesn't sound like very much, but when your base is, starting out in the neighborhood of $800,000, $36,000 is not a totally insignificant percentage.
Okay. You mentioned funding out of reserves. Mm-hmm. How are reserves generated?
We, through the years, during the pandemic and last year when we had a lot of open positions, we have first just had working capital, is what you'd call it in a business. And the working capital has always been enough to cover expenses for 2 or 3 months. That's, if you take our $800,000 budget and divide it by 12 months, well, let's say 840, because that actually can be divided by 12, that's about $60,000 a month. So we always had in the neighborhood of 2 to 3 months in the bank. And I don't know where that came from. Probably Fred Wendell did it in 1960-something. But that's always been there, and that's been the library's safety net. It's any operation, whether it's a business or governmental, needs to have reserves.
Right.
The town has reserves.
And we were also told by this chief financial officer and by previous councils that it's wise to keep about 2 or 3 months in reserve for emergencies. And
sure.
Now, the only thing that we haven't had up until very recently is any kind of a capital reserve. And in the couple of years where we've had significant savings, either because of the closings of the pandemic or last year because we had the open positions while we were hiring the 2 new professional librarians, we've begun to build one up. At the end of last year, it was only about $38,000, and we're hoping that we did have a surplus last year, that most of that will go into a capital reserve, so we'll finally have that at a level where it actually could cover something if we needed it.
Okay, so my final question goes to Katie. I'm assuming that the library works much like the schools, where we'll pay them, I guess, quarterly, and then they manage that. So if they underspend their budget, unlike other departments, we don't realize that savings and surplus. That stays with the library?
That is correct, yes. So if they underspend, let's just say the borough's appropriation is 803, they underspend, let's just say 80,000. That 80,000 stays on the library's books as a retained earnings.
Okay. And how much did you guys come under last year?
It was 70-something. So Katie, I think, was purposeful in her answer. The numbers I have say about 76,000.
Okay, thank you, Jim.
Hey, I just have one quick question. It's Michael again. So that, let's say you keep $90,000 to $120,000 in reserves, that money is also bearing interest, I assume, correct?
Yeah, it's the same money that Tom was talking about.
Okay. Yeah, and if you have a run rate of, let's say, $60,000 to $120,000 in there, you probably should get a little higher bearing interest money market account, I would presume.
It's something we've never had the luxury of spending much time thinking about. I mean, when interest rates were next to zero, people stopped worrying about them, and that was a waste of time to worry about them. Now that interest rates have come up to be something more meaningful, yes, we should take another look at that. But again, that isn't, there are no financial officers in the library. To the extent that finance gets done as finance, it's members of the library board who essentially do it, or John does it himself. So it's the interest rate on the bank deposits has not been a priority.
Yeah, so that's something that, again, as I mentioned, the borough administrator, that's front and center here. And again, now that we're still at approximately 3.5% to 4%, that's real money on $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. That's $15,000. So I'd be happy. And that's what I do all day long for my clients is, and what we found out 2 years ago when those banks went out of business, people can move money really fast. And these banks, I'm sure you like me, every single day in the mail I get 6 different coupons from every other bank in this town to try to get my money. And that's the thing right now in our phones. So that's something that I'd be happy to come by and dovetail that with our discussions with the borough administrator about the banks. But those, you're banking with Valley across the street, then certainly I'd be happy to join you with a meeting. And yeah, that's a fair amount. If you have $300,000 operating, that's again at 4%, that's a lot of money.
Tom, I think the bigger point Jim just raised, which now more that I think about it is, I think an extremely valid one, is there's no fiscal officer at the library.
Yeah. Sure.
So the director, who's a librarian, and other staff, there's nobody that has constant direct focus on this. They handle it as part of their other responsibilities. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if there's some way we can help with that to make that, more efficient, more effective, whatever it may be. We have that expertise here.
Sure.
I don't know if there's a way to have that make a more meaningful impact on the library side.
I mean, and to leverage the borough's relationship with the banks in town, right? And to have those discussions. So I'm happy to, maybe myself and the administrator can sit with your team and put our heads together. And yeah, those are meaningful dollars there that you're talking about.
I do got a question. We do have a borough financial consultant that we do have as a vendor. Is it, possible that we can maybe have them use those services, even though it's part of the borough's expenses? Katie?
I don't think that would be necessary. I mean, if I don't know. I mean, I'd be happy to.
We're already paying for it.
Yeah, but I think that's, and Mayor, correct me if I'm wrong, if that's bigger picture as opposed to cash management in terms of our
Yeah, but I'm just also talking about fiscal controls and other things that
Yeah.
may provide them some extra expertise that people
best
are doing as
practices.
part of their regular job, but that's not their primary function. So I don't know what the answer is. It's just something worth exploring and continuing a conversation about in the
The
future.
borough does handle our payroll, and that's 75%
Okay.
of the expense. So
Yeah.
the fact is we are already more or less consolidated from an operational point of view. And the remaining 25% is the financial part, not that more difficult than running a household.
Right, that's to my
You know,
point.
the question is whether you, given our bank balances, my guess is that we don't have much leverage in terms of they might give us a little better interest rate, but then they'll take it back in some kind of fees.
Potentially,
You'd
it's
have
negotiation.
you'd have to combine it with some other resources so that we could ride the coattails of somebody.
Sure. And that's
order to
the
avoid the fees.
leverage with the borough, yeah, that we can have that, so, yeah, maybe I know CFO to have a meeting and with your,
Okay.
whoever's doing that, I'd be happy to have that.
Any other questions for the library?
Just a minor question that I caught on your lines was, I know fees, and that's a $5,000 approximately revenue generator. I thought I'd read that, I don't know if it's New York libraries or different towns did away with late fees, or that, I don't know, is it still like a nickel or a quarter or 50 cents? Or?
About 60, I think it's up to 66 of the 78 Buckles libraries have gone, as they call it, fine-free. We have not made that decision to do so. The library board has not made that decision to do so. But many libraries, not just in New Jersey, but throughout the country, have gone fine-free.
And how has that worked out for them? Do people not return their books or?
Evidently, studies supposedly show that things are returned and people come back to the library. I've read a lot of, I've watched webinars, I've read a lot about it. I'm not fully convinced that we could even gather certain types of information that would point to the direction that it's better for everyone to go fine-free.
Yeah, I'm assuming their nominal fee.
It's public property, and if somebody keeps it longer than there's, it's like being in a parking space. The meter runs out. You get, and sometimes you get $100.
Issue with it. Yeah, just wondering. Thank you.
But right, so it is. It has come up. We have brought it up from time to time at the library board.
The fine income is $5,000 last year. So
It's gone down drastically. One reason is that Buckles took the initiative to, and this is a detail that, you may care about or not, but we have automatic reset of the automatic renewal. In other words, you have an item out, you forget to bring it back, it doesn't matter, it's automatically renewed. And on most items, that's like there were 2 of them before fines would even start. And by that point, most people do return the material. So that's why they've gone down drastically.
Thank you.
Okay.
I have a question for John. What is the current payroll expense right now in 2025? I'm just trying to back into this request amount of $583,000 for the 2025 personnel request. Because what is a current payroll cost in 2025? What would you say?
The whole year?
What would you say for per payroll?
Okay. Well, right now, there is one position that we have that's part of our request that's not in it's not in
the current expense.
It's not in the current expense because we hope to hire midsummer, maybe in September, an archives assistant. This is something that we've been wanting to do. We would have done it last year because we did have the money in the budget and part of what was appropriated. We just did not want to hire a position like that when we were closed. And then my office was flooded, and we had such turnover in terms of administrators in the library that we didn't hire that position. So right now, it's Trying to think of what, it's about 17,000?
17,000 for 24 pays is 408.
No, it must be higher than, I'm trying to think of what the last one.
408
was.
times 1.0325 for a 3.25 increase. That's 421,000.
No, it's higher than, I'm trying to think of what the last few were.
It's only about 20,000, but also whatever we're running this year doesn't include the 0.75% increase because that would have to be done as a retroactive.
Well, exactly. So, yeah, if let's just say if we're saying $20,000 per payroll, okay, $20,000 per payroll, that's $480,000 for the whole year estimate times a 0.325. That's $495,000, but the library's asking for $583,000.
So some of that again would be the assistant.
Well, how much is a salary range for archive assistant?
That the 583,000.
I don't know what the market is right now, because what we would do is we would offer a certain amount, which is part of the budget, and we said about, it depends also on how much. We recognize that we may not need someone for 20 hours a week. We certainly don't, because we do rely on the volunteer efforts of the borough historian, who also has been serving to some extent as an archivist as well, and that's William Schuber. We also have an assistant, Sam Tripsis, as volunteer. So we really have to see how much we'll need somebody. What I anticipate is that in the beginning we're going to need someone for more hours than later on in the year. Maybe in the beginning, because we have to migrate sort of this old system that was not created necessarily by a professional archivist. George Carter did a great job, but he wasn't a professional. He created his own system. We have to migrate that not only into a new software, but also into archival standards.
So I think you guys can work that out offline. I mean, if I just looked at your 527, increased it by 3.5% plus the 17,000, you're still about 20,000 under what you're asking for. So, but I think the numbers you guys can work out offline and arrive at what, if there's any oversight or something, clarification, what have you, so that we can get the actual number.
Okay.
We put in, the request was pretty much for the max of what we think it might cost by year's end to hire an assistant at some point in the year.
But even hiring an assistant, you're not paying them a full year's salary.
Right.
You're paying a prorated salary.
Correct.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Appreciate your thoroughness.
Thank you, Mayor.
No, that's okay. I didn't.
What? Mr. Anzavino, you'll join us, please.
It's in administration.
Is it?
Katie, is the tax assessor in the administration section?
The tax assessor is under finance. It's the last budget.
It's Ted?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right here. It's after the DPW.
Cool your jets.
I see. Okay. Okay, Mr. Anzavino, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for the invitation. I'm going to make this very quick. In light of the current economic conditions with the borough, the assessor's office doesn't need one penny. We're good.
And Jim, you don't anticipate any increase in costs in terms of appraisal systems or anything like that?
No, that's a fixed contract.
Okay.
So we should be getting.
Good.
We may have costs with other stuff related to legal as far as tax appeals.
Right, but that's handled. Okay.
The only thing I would like, if possible, if we could restructure in some of the, don't change the bottom amount. If we could just cover my dues for the county. I work in multiple towns and all the others pay. But if you can't, you can't. I understand it's a tough year.
I got a question on the assessment maps. I mean, they may change. Would that be an extra cost?
That will be a cost, but I don't think it's something we have to do this year, nor will we be getting billed this year for it.
Thank you.
Because we're already, basically, we're into April already. So. In the future, I believe, and David will be able to tell you better, they're going to want the maps digitized. But right now, it doesn't make sense to do manual maps and then have to spend more money later to digitize them.
Thank you.
Okay, and Jim, the difference between revaluation of real property and appraisal services is the appraisal services line is to defend in tax appeals?
Yes.
Okay. You want to have any?
Yeah, Jim, thank you for all you do. The appraisal services, that's annual, and again, the revaluation, that line is we're in the fifth year of a 5-year contract, so that's going to come up.
I think
it says here.
I don't think we're in the fifth year yet. I think we're in the
2025 is the last year of the contract for this line items.
We're in our last year of the contract.
So that's an annual cost that we're hitting, and so at the end of this year, we're going to go RFP, or
usually we could go
or stick with the same.
There's basically two companies in northern New Jersey. One company does the annual, one company does not. But we could definitely get an RFP, whatever the council would choose to do.
So they get the information, it goes to the assessor or the appraisal guy. Yeah, so what is that? That's two different people. I would have thought it would have been the gentleman you were with on Saturday, that his company, or is that his company? Is it?
Usually we found that we use McNerney and Associates, which is always done through the the RFP process for the town. It has the borough appraiser. And McNerney seems to be the trend that appraisal systems does the reassessments, and usually we use a separate appraiser, which is McNerney, to do the defense of the tax appeals. And basically the reasons, I would say, is you want to get a fresh set of eyes on something. A lot of this is an opinion, and if my opinion is X, let's see what opinion Y is. And most of the times, on 90% of the times, both appraisers do work. The person that was here Saturday, Appraisal Systems, works in conjunction with McNerney.
So that's good. So it is two sets of eyes. So you have somebody saying that and the other guy defending it, and they both have to look at the same property. Good. Thank you.
Just one last question. Legal defense of tax appeals. We budget that in administration? That's not in here, right?
Correct. Yeah, that's under legal budget.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Anzavino? Thank you very much, Jim.
Thank you for your time. Sorry it took so long. Have a good night, everybody.
You too.
We're out of those.
Come on.
No, they were actually open. Next year I'll get it.
Okay.
Get another sticker.
Good night.
Good night, Jim.
All right, next up is Department of Public Works Superintendent, Mr. Nywinning. Whenever you're set, Dan. Lost the line. Cool. Katie, just one thing before he gets into this.
Okay.
I know we compartmentalize this out into the different departments.
Yes.
It would really be helpful to see DPW rolled up into one large line item.
I would agree with that.
With a pie chart.
Oh, a pie chart. I do have.
Just even the tables, right? So we can go across the road department is this, that. So if I'm looking at road repairs and maintenance, $908,000, we know it costs a lot more than that to run the DPW.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I do have something I can hand out.
We don't need it tonight. I'm just.
Oh, I actually
it's
have.
just helpful to see the bigger picture. If you have it, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I have it.
I agree, Mayor. I'm assuming due to the fact also that our superintendent can move staff between areas, right? So that's, to your point, Mayor, that's where it'd be helpful to have the roll-up number. Thank you. Awesome, thanks. That's the page.
All right, Dan, 3 minutes and counting. That's all you got.
Computer boot up.
While your computer's booting up, I'll ask the question, is AV something we've got to figure out before the meeting? I mean, there's people that have prepared something like Dan has a PowerPoint. I think it's a disadvantage to people watching that they're not able to see the presentation that's being made. So I don't know if we have to ask for that in advance or it's something that's...
You got to give a heads up that it needs to be set up.
Yeah, we should really do that.
Right. OPTV came up earlier and asked, but we didn't have a definitive answer, so but they do need a heads up to set it up the right way.
Thank you, Steve.
Going to start, first of all, thank you again for letting me do this, the annual budget. Just going to, if we just flip through the presentation, the new employee requests. I'm just going to kind of bullet point and touch on the highs and lows of my presentation, the submitted budget. We'd like to get a lead man promoted in the Buildings and Grounds Department, a full-time recreational labor employee, not obviously that would work with the director, but help us out too, and a full-time laborer that would backfill a spot within the tree department. That would give us 20 overall employees with the tree person. The recreation employee would, I'm assuming, be part of the rec department. If you flip through, goes on the recreation employees where their responsibilities would be. Obviously, that probably is going to change now that we have a full-time rec director. So, just a little history about the budget here. So the Oradell Department of Public Works administers 15 separate budgets encompassing over 90 individual line items. The total operational budget for 2024, with salaries, I believe, was $3,783,644. This year's operational increase of $232,990 equals a 10% increase. Some of the key drivers for that increase was contractual and utility rate hikes was $180,327, or 8% of that total increase. The other operational needs, $52,663, was 2%. I think despite the budget adjustments, we kept three-quarters of all the line items have remained flat or decreased, demonstrating our commitment to fiscal responsibility while ensuring the department meets its operational and contractual obligations. The largest single increase is in a garbage and trash removal of $92,714, which is 26%. And that's due to contractual obligations. Recycling costs have increased by 16%, or $59,282. Nearly half of that increase is attributed to a contract. The sewer budget rose by 15%, or $16,100, in part to the Emerson Sewer, the new Emerson Sewer agreement, which is, I think, $10,000 a year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Street lights and fire hydrant service each saw increases of 10%, reflecting anticipated utility increase adjustments.
Well, why 10% for street lighting? Half of them don't work.
We're anticipating they will.
Okay. Thank you for your answer.
And road repairs and maintenance saw a minor decrease of $725, just due to cost-saving measures in the budget. So on the next slide, it lists all those, as you were saying, you brought up all the different line items. And with the percentage changes and the actual dollar changes. Again, altogether, if you want, I can go down the list of the changes, the line items.
I think it's helpful if you just focus on the programmatic changes that have a larger delta than a nominal one.
Okay.
Right? In order to provide this service, this much more is required, or this is decreased because we've done something better than we have in the past.
All right. So again, there's a BCUA. Well, we can start with the road maintenance. Again, that's overall down $725. The one thing that I have in there that, if you look at one of the line items, is, no, I'm sorry, I misspoke, that's for shop. We were able to take out $4,000 from the education dues and subscriptions because we're not using one of the modules from our work order program that was put in the budget last year or a year before that we just haven't wound up wanting to need. So,
Dan, just to clarify one question, this is other than personal services, right? This is not salary and wage.
yeah, no salaries here.
Okay.
This is just,
Yep.
yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you.
The shade tree department, just, we were able to subtract $200, so it's a minor saving there. And all this, I was trying to keep everything below, that 0 to 2%. Obviously, the contractual increases I can't help, but sewer department, obviously up 15%, and that's, again, pretty much due to the Emerson Sewer agreement. And I also added more to the sewer repairs. I want to bring that, I upped that to $5,600 just because we have that we replace or repair our catch basins with that line item also. And outside of road paving, if it's not involved with that, we rebuild, probably 50 or 60 catch basins a year. Probably.
Question, Dan, on the roads. I know that we used a lot of salt so far, and for 2025, unfortunately. But is that included in this budget here? The extra amount for the salt? Okay.
Yeah, it's included in the road department.
Okay, thanks.
We're good, knock on wood. We have enough salt to, our dome is pretty at capacity right now. So we're...
Dan, I got a question regarding the sewer department. I think you were discussing that. We're paying $9,300 for a sewer license. How hard would it be to get that license in-house?
Well, we have that. That's, let me bring up that's for a flow meter, the hour meters that we charge.
Okay, I know what that is now. I'm misinterpreting that line as something else.
Yeah, it's probably better reflected as sewer metering.
Well,
as soon as you said flow, I knew exactly where you were going.
Right.
But this line doesn't seem to say that.
No, I might have misspoke on that. Let me look up that line item. You know what? That should be sewer charges, not professional services. I'm sorry. In the handout, number one should be sewer charges, not sewer services. That's actually a zero line item. the professional services.
This increase, so we resolved that issue with Emerson last year, which had some retroactivity to it.
Correct.
Did we budget for that last year, or did we have to take that from unbudgeted funds to resolve?
Yeah, we had to. Yes, so there was two accounts. So one is to the back billing that we agreed to pay Emerson. So
Right.
that's one line item. The other one is the ongoing charges between Oradell and Emerson. So last year we didn't know how much that was, so we had to cover with transfers.
Right, so we didn't budget, this is the first time
This is
we're
the first time we're budgeting
for
for-
having to pay.
Correct,
Okay,
yes.
perfect, thank you.
Yeah, and again, I apologize for the typo on the presentation. Again, garbage and trash, that's all contractual. There's not a lot we could do about that. Buildings and grounds, it's just a flat, not flat, it's a 2% increase. Just to touch on the library, I want to increase that $5,000 to $25,000 overall. Last year we spent $29,000. So, and that's a line item that we kind of always flirt around the $25,000 number. Sometimes we're a little bit over, sometimes we're a little bit below, but there is definitely a lot of, as we all know, a lot of maintenance on our end that goes into that, to the library. Shopping garage, the biggest increase here is with the new GPS software I want to put in the trucks. Right now we have, I think, 13 trucks, or 13 DPW vehicles that have GPS on it. And it's kind of an older system through Verizon. The newer system that we're looking at would do all 22 of our frontline vehicles, and it's a lot more upgradable. There's a lot more interface with the employees with it. It's easier to manage. You could add a lot different modules to it for relatively inexpensive per vehicle. You could have sensors on whether that'll tell you whether a snowplow is up or snowplow is down, if the door is open or door is closed, if they're wearing a seatbelt, if not wearing their seatbelt. As I found out, it notifies me when a vehicle gets into an accident, so I'll get a notification when one of the trucks hits something. Parks and playgrounds, it's just about flat. I just ask for a 1% increase.
Dan, can I go back and ask you one thing on your road repairs and maintenance slide?
Sure.
So you list one of the things under education dues and subscriptions, Power DMS, for about $2,700 a year.
Right.
What do you use that software platform for?
That's our employee time management system. We do all our scheduling on that, our putting for your vacation time, your time off. It interacts with the employees. They could see how much vacation time they have, or bank time, or we submit our comp time through that, all our bank time that employees get. Okay. It can be, and I know I've talked to, the police department uses the same system, and that can be integrated into our payroll system, because they'll work with whatever payroll system we use, where you can submit your overtime. They go totally paperless.
Right. The reason I asked the question is because we now have multiple departments using same software, but we're not approaching it from an aggregate purchase, right? The borough of Oradell is not saying to Power DMS, I need this, I need this, I need this. The police are doing their thing, you're doing their thing. We could be using it for something else. So there's efficiency with the amount of seats you get for licensure. These are the kinds of things I think we need to take a look at to find efficiency and allow you the tool you need, but hopefully at a better cost, because we're buying an aggregate.
Well, yeah, when we got this system, there was a different administration, and the entire borough was invited to use it because we're allowed up to 50 seats on our license, and I think the former administrator turned that down or didn't act on it.
Okay. I'm just,
So it's
I'm talking about a
easily
procurement, thing that we should look at globally, right, across departments and what their needs are. The history of it isn't so much important for this discussion right this second. But I think it's an area we can try and find efficiency in to still get everybody the tools they need, hopefully at a decreased cost. Especially if we have things we're not using, right? We have seats available to us and we're not currently using them. Thank you.
Again, utility increases. On your copy, I think it has streetlights at 9% increase. I'll correct it after I printed everything out. And I didn't want my paper budget to go up, so I didn't reprint everything.
One thing on utility expenses. So the legislature has, or our local representatives have informed one of the mayor's associations that there's going to be a substantial increase in water fees from Veolia.
Right.
And I notice here you have a 10% increase on fire hydrant service. Have we accounted for an increase on potable water service to our facilities?
We're still pretty good with that line budget-wise, right? We usually don't even come close to going over that.
I mean, you're coming almost 20% increase. So if you took what you use now,
right,
and multiplied it by 20%, if you're still within your budget, okay. But if you're not, it may be something we have to consider.
Absolutely. Okay.
I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but
Katie?
file your complaints with the BPU.
It's a better number than saying the insurance is going up 20%.
And lastly, the last two is beautification and environmental. I have Kathy Derry here who represents, well, I'm going to say both of those committees, or at least one. Beautification committee, it's a 7%, it's a big increase, but $500. And they do a lot with all the flowers in town, the corn stalks, all the seasonal decorations, and they kind of go through their budget quite easily. So I think the $500 is the justifiable increase. And also along with the environmental committee, it's a $1,000 increase, which is 67% of the total budget. So they really weren't getting all that much to begin with. They were getting They were getting $1,000 a year, and beautification was getting $500 a year from the town. I don't know if you have anything to add about the programs you do, or we touched it all.
I think that's all. Maybe we'll say about some of the holiday decor stores and swap that out.
Right. Because I know we talked about the wreaths last year, and I know the desire to keep the wreaths and maybe do some sort of sponsorship program where residents can buy them. But the wreaths need to, at the very least, be rehabbed again. They were refurbished a number of years ago, so we have to start thinking about how to keep the downtown looking holiday-ish. And so in conclusion, our budget reflects the necessary adjustments to meet the rising contractual and utility costs while trying to maintain fiscal discipline, with 2% of the total increase dedicated to actual operational requests. The department, the DPW, remains committed to sustaining essential public works services efficiently. And other than the last slide, which has our dedicated employees, and thank you for hearing me out.
So first, I would say thank you for all that you and your staff do. The DPW is one of the most relied upon departments when it comes to community functions and providing, services in our time of need of a natural disaster or a snow event, or maintaining our fields so recreation can go uninhibited. I'm going to ask a very broad question. So DPW is also a very versatile department, right? You have the ability to do a lot of different things. have we taken a look at what our internal capacity might be to perhaps work with one or more of the schools on a shared service for a function where maybe we're doing something and they're doing something and it's a trade-off because they're better at one thing and we're better at the other? Or the ability to look at, I'm trying to choose my words carefully, right? So your staff does an extreme amount of work for the amount of bodies you have.
I agree.
In some instances, I'm asking this from an efficiency perspective. Let's suppose we hired the tree guy you wanted. There's only a certain amount of throughput that 2 guys are going to be able to perform when it comes to tree work.
Well, this would be a third.
My point is that if we have certain situations where, say, a takedown is necessary, but the tree is not a hazard, would it be more efficient for us to say once a year we're marking trees and we're bidding out the takedown of 12 or 19 or whatever it is trees, and companies that have different equipment than us can come in and do it way quicker than we can? But our guys, I'm not suggesting we don't have our guys. Right. They're focused more on pruning and other things that allow maintenance to keep current, where a takedown, say, may take a day and upwards of 2 days, depending upon the size of the tree. And it's quite frankly dangerous, right, with so few staff and not the right resources.
We do have a line item for contractual tree work. I think it's $45,000 or $50,000. We did just go out. We used a state contract vendor to get prices on a bunch of the takedowns that exceed our abilities because of a crane. They need a crane and they need bigger equipment than we have. So we do that. I know we work with the school every so often with their field crew. We help them out. They help us out. We work with other towns when as needed. They'll come in. We had a Holworth sent the crew over and worked with us not too long ago. We rebuilt a line in the middle of the street. We replaced the manholes. So we do work with that, but there's no set SOP to do that every year. But we do have the funds. The borough gives us the funds in place, and so we have been doing that as kind of like an on-needed basis, as needed basis.
Okay. Other questions for Dan?
I do, Dan. Thanks again for everything you do, Dan, and always working together with everybody. Just a couple of things about the roads, and you still have a hierarchy of need streets, is that correct? And how does that work with?
So every year I go out and I try to do about 20% re-rating the road. So every 5 years, every road gets re-rated, and those numbers get whether the road's been paved or not. With the work that we've been doing or the public service has been doing in Oradell, that kind of gets jumbled around. So we do have a list of roads that are kind of like best to worst. I just completed you had Roger. I just completed the crack seal list. So that's part of the road program. But to answer your question in short, yeah, we do keep a hierarchy of.
So if a resident says my street is horrible, they can give you guys a call down there, and they may be on the list somewhere, if not to alert you, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's also, I believe, through our website, the town's website, they can. It's something that obviously we have to pay for, where a resident can take a picture of it and send it in. It'll create a work order, and it'll automatically generate work orders and a list for us of.
Take a look.
That could be abused, because somebody's bad pothole is, somebody's little.
And also at the DPW, out-of-towners using it or contractors. What controls do we have there of dropping off? Landscape. I don't know if I mentioned to you, but yes, out-of-town guy was dropping off.
That's hard to police because it's open and we don't have anybody, watching the recycling facility. We don't permit it. We do permit the apartments in town to drop their recycling off and things like that, mostly because we used to make money on it, but we still make money on the cardboard and paper a little bit. But no, out of contractors and out-of-town residents, not
So if I'm getting my kitchen redone, that person is not allowed to bring it down there, but I can bring it down there if I'm doing it.
Potentially you could, yeah.
I could, but
Right.
not necessarily this guy's truck can't bring it down there, right?
And if the landscapers that do the schools and the churches in town, they're allowed to bring during leaf season, the leaves down. Because the way we figured, it's either they're either going to put them in the street or bring them down to us. Either way, they're going to wind up in our facility.
Yeah. Okay. And just hit me now. In the past, we used to rent out that back lot, and that's now our. Do we need that, or is that went away? We used to get revenue from that. Now it's your.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot of money. It was I think we charged
$1,000 or something, 15. Yeah.
For a year rather.
Yeah.
So we really weren't getting a lot, and our capacity for storage need to expand.
Okay.
And
So
it just wasn't. It really wasn't a safe place for a secure place to keep rented equipment.
Okay. And then the other item in terms of overtime, and I'm sure it's contractual, but if your entire staff, do they go 7 to 3?
7 to 3:15.
Yeah. So would it ever make, I guess, in the next contractual round, whatever their specific jobs are, if we have needs at 4, have some staggered staff. Some folks come in at 9 to work 9 to 5, and he works 7 to 3. And
so we do that. There's a part of the contract that says I'm allowed to adjust work hours as needed for
without hitting overtime.
Right. So tomorrow, we're sending guys up around 6:30 to the asphalt plant to get asphalt. But in turn, they'll just leave a half hour early.
Okay. All right. I think that's it. Thanks. And I guess the other thing I was chatting with the administrator about in terms of garbage, and that's a massive, that looks like $1.5 million to get the garbage and recycling out of here. Is there any solution to that other than do we need, and maybe that's a bigger mayor and council discussion twice a week and those types of things?
So, not to interrupt, I'm sorry. I think and I talked to Kate about this and I forgot to tell Ed, sorry. When the numbers came in on the last contract, the last bid specs, the once a week and twice a week pickup, Westfall was the same number.
Yeah, well, that's maybe that's what happened.
I think I'm pretty sure there was no difference in the price.
Yeah, it was negligible.
How could that be?
Right. To that point, though, I still think it's beneficial to understand the volume of garbage that's picked up on the first pickup versus the second by month. Right. So if we can look at the
first
tickets,
pickup is definitely more.
Of course. But if we can do an analysis of the tipping tickets, because we pay directly to tip, we don't pay Westfall to tip, right?
Right. No,
we pay under the BCUA contract. So we should have all those tickets and the weights that they're dumping. If we can put an analysis together that looks at that over a 12-month period, month by month, week by week, whatever, and look at what the volume is on the first pickup versus a second pickup, and I say over the 12 months because, there may be seasonal fluctuations. We all know there's going to be probably more trash generated in warmer months than there are in colder months. But this is one thing that I think we as a council and Dan need to look at going forward because the cost is just going to keep ever increasing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there has to be some innovation in how we can maintain this service but also control the cost at the same time. So I'm not saying that twice a week isn't what we need or it is what we need. I would just like to see the numbers out of curiosity, to be honest.
I'm just amazed that the price could be the same he's got to get the trucks on the road and hire the people and tip it, et cetera, from once and twice a week. You would think it'd be double, right? But if it's the same,
You would think, but
I don't know how that guy can stay in business.
I think his comment was they're at work anyway, so.
Yeah, but if you didn't do a second pickup, they're not at work here, so what would we be paying for it for?
Yeah, it just seems...
You might need more resources to do a single-day pickup, so...
Yeah, because they have to do relay trucks.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's about 60%, if I remember. Monday, if that's 100%, Thursday's about 60% of what Monday is. And that's also the day that they will pick up bulk stuff.
Right, like a couch.
Okay. They've been very good. I'm just thinking about the function in general. last call. Anybody has questions for Dan?
Maybe the other point in terms of garbage pickup, you talk to people in other towns, our Westfall seems to pick up everything.
Right.
Whether or not it's a washing machine and couches, and I mean, it's incredible.
They won't pick up the metal.
No, maybe I
we
saw
picked
it.
that.
Yeah, but it's absolutely incredible. I don't know if they go above and beyond, but
They do. They're the best
They-
garbage
they- I don't know if
contractor.
they don't ask questions.
I can
They
remember.
are. And, yeah, they're certainly the best that I've seen here.
Yes.
yeah.
They're outstanding.
And no matter what it is, we pay the same price, basically. Right?
Yeah, because we pay the shipping fee. So no matter how much they pick up, we're paying them the same.
Yeah.
And they also do a lot. They fix a lot of our dumpsters. We bring them over there, and they'll just they don't charge us to fix them. They'll weld them back together. They'll paint them and send them back. So there's a lot of other advantages.
Okay. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Thanks for what you and your staff do.
Yes, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Hines, how are we handling the clerk's presentation? Are you handling that?
I handed out the clerk's presentation, Mr. Mayor, to all the members of the panel.
So should we ask ourselves questions, or we should formulate these and we can have Laura answer them at a later time?
We have further meetings on the budget.
Okay.
After the hearings, I'm sure the council's going to
Thank you, Dan.
decide the requests.
Is this better suited for us to submit our questions in writing so that Laura can answer them, or are you familiar with her budget and can answer them?
Well, I believe the clerk is going to be able to respond to questions from home. She's going to work remotely from...
Well, that's just what I'm asking. If somebody has a question, should we email her the
Yes.
question?
Yes.
The answers can then be compiled and distributed to the entire
I
council.
would suggest we make a CC to the CFO, too.
So what I would suggest in Laura's absence is that whatever questions we have on the budget as submitted, if we can submit those to Ed with a copy to Katie, and then Sam or somebody can summarize them, get them to Laura, she can answer them, they can be distributed to the council?
Absolutely.
Okay. I would say the sooner we can submit questions to Ed, the better. I believe we have a meeting calendared for this Thursday night at 6. So if we can get questions in the next day or so, perhaps we can have answers by that meeting.
I would like to ask one question that I think Ed could answer.
Sure.
The vacant deputy clerk position, the second deputy clerk, can you just explain that position? I'm not familiar with that.
Your question, Mr. Carnevale, is?
Well, I know we have a clerk, a deputy clerk, but now there's a second deputy clerk that we're in the process of hiring, or?
The recommendation.
That's a recommendation?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I didn't recall seeing anything in the write-up that sort of justified the recommendation. I think it was just...
One of the problems is it's a personnel issue, Mr. Carnevale, so it's like a HIPAA thing. We're not talking about just a policy question first.
So or somebody's recommending that another position be added that the council, I'm sure, has some questions on.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
I just wanted to validate it. Thank you.
Thank you. If nothing has no one has anything further, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you, everybody. See you on Thursday.
How did they put on the resolution?
on Sunday morning. Pancakes on Sunday morning. Pancakes on Sunday morning. Wanna eat 'em with you. Yeah, you. Sunday is the best day for waking up late. Smelling that sweetness about to hit my plate.
tots, old jam jars, spare guitars.